That's your email under whatever mail you use. So if you use like Outlook, you can just set it up as a new account under a Google email address. Type in your phone number, email address. Usually my password to use one is
When's it come out? What days? Tuesday. Tomorrow. See, I only did them online. I guess I'll. Did we turn our mics on? Yes, please turn your mics on. Maybe they did all.
With our luck, they probably have been. Oh, God. I'll turn Josh's on. He's not here yet. I mean, he's here, but he's not here. Oops, wait a minute. Oh, no. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll stand and have the invocation by Father Doug Hale from St. John's Episcopal Church.
Let's pray. Oh God, our governor and benefactor, we give you thanks for this new year and the new terms of our counselors and mayors. Give to them the wisdom that will guide them in making the best decisions for our community. Give to them the courage to take stands when they are unpopular. Give to them the humility to listen with an open mind to those with different views. Most of all, give to them love for all the people of Bandon, that they might always be about doing what is best for all your people. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen. Amen. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Council President, Madeline Seymour.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the presentations that we have are the certificate of election by the city recorder.
Doesn't she have to sort of?
We do them, you do them individually? Oh, okay. I don't think we did, but
Anybody want their picture taken?
she's gonna take, I'm just saying.
I was making sure his dad can see him because he's on the Zoom.
Oh.
I, Joshua Adamson,
I, Joshua Adamson,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
the charter and ordinance of the city of Bandon,
the charter and ordinance of the city of Bandon,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of counselor
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of counselor
of the city of Bandon in Coos County,
of the city of Bandon in Coos County,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then go ahead and sign that one for me. I'm going to go ahead and do the presentation of certificates at the same time. So this is your certification of your election. Madeline will take your picture. She's a photographer. Good job. And now please take your seat. You want to do last so that, okay. Christopher Powell. I'll give you that so you can repeat after me. There you go. Raise your right hand. I, Christopher Powell,
I, Christopher Powell,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
the charter and ordinance of the city of Bandon,
the charter and ordinance of the city of Bandon,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of counselor of the city of Bandon
and I will fully discharge the duties of counselor of the city of Bandon,
in county of Coos.
county of Coos,
Sorry, that was wrong. According to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Thank you, sir.
you.
Congratulations. And if you'll sign that one for me. And here's your certificate.
Perfect, thanks.
Chris,
Want to take a picture? We know you're a pro, but you know.
Did we get one 2 years?
We have to do you now.
Let's go take my picture.
Picture.
Have Mary do it.
okay,
It's like a key for you.
Okay, so I can
You
not
can,
lose my place, right?
yes. Hi, Madeline Seymour.
I, Madeline Seymour,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon,
the charter and ordinance of the city of Bandon,
the charter and ordinance of the city of Bandon,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of counselor
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of counselor
of the city of Bandon in the county of Coos,
in the city of Bandon in the county of Coos,
according to the best. Yep, I'm sorry, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Perfect. And sign that. one. And there's your certificate.
I probably cut my head off.
We can do another one at the end.
Thank you.
Here. Ready? I, Mary Shamahorn,
I, Mary Shelley,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the state of Oregon,
the charter, the ordinance of the city of Bandon,
the charter and the ordinances of the city of Bandon,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor
of the city of Bandon in the county of Coos,
in the city of Bandon in the county of Coos,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
You're pro. Okay, now we have the full council again. So when you talk, everybody.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, this is a rather short agenda, so excuse us for not keeping you here too long out of the rain. Is the election of a council president. This is done every 2 years. As long, anytime new officers are sworn in or new councilors, they have to have a new council president or a new election.
Madam Mayor, I nominate Madeline Seymour.
I second that. It's been moved and seconded that Madeline Seymour continue as council president. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is Jeff with us tonight? Online or anything?
Doesn't look like it.
I think I just heard him.
I don't, Jeff,
He's not online.
he's not
Oh,
on?
wait, he just, yes, he is.
Yeah, I just heard, I thought I heard him.
Oh, okay.
Where are you, Jeff? There he is.
Okay, 5.2, utility rates and sustainability. Dan, I guess this is yours.
Yeah, I apologize for not having written materials or a PowerPoint. I've been down and out for much of the last week. I think we will talk about this. We'll need to talk about this in some depth at a work session.
Okay,
But to set the stage a little bit, I did a survey last month. Asking a couple of questions about the city council having rate setting authority. Having laid out the notion that without rate setting authority, the city of Bandon cannot enter into the kinds of covenants that lenders need cities to enter into in order to take advantage of low cost loan and grant programs. So the grant programs that have been put in place by the federal government and the state government for these kinds of large water and sewer infrastructure projects are simply not available to the city of Bandon under its current charter. This came to a head after the off-channel reservoir was, I think, designed, mostly permitted, and fairly far along in the process. This is before I joined the city. They approached what's called the one-stop shop at the state, where the state goes through all of it, gets all of the funders into a room and talks about how we can fund this important project. Looking at Bandon's charter, they simply said, we can't. So having set the stage, the survey asked a couple of questions. First question was whether people would support returning rate setting authority to the city council if it were limited strictly to being able to enter into those kinds of rate covenants to take advantage of loans and grants. That was 55% of folks were opposed. My personal belief is that late in the process, there may have been a little outreach. Well, I'll just say this. I won't make any aspersions. It started out 55% in favor. And then there was a point in that process where it turned and was almost 100% against. I don't know what happened in there, but there was a definite shift at a specific point in time. In any event, in neither of those cases would you want to go out for a ballot measure, even if it was 55 in favor. You'd want a stronger position than that. The second question was, what if council rate setting authority was limited to the amount of the Social Security cost of living adjustment? That's what the city of North Bend recently had put into its charter. Thinking being, well, that certainly keeps the rates from growing faster than the Social Security received by people on fixed incomes. Same result, 55% opposed. I think around 37% in favor and a large number undecided. So where we are now is that we are going to have to go to the voters for rates, for new rates. The current rates are just simply not sustainable. We have upcoming regulatory obligations. DEQ, for example, wants us to be cameraing and inspecting 20% of our sewer pipes a year. With our current budget, we can't do that. We will have a new point source discharge permit coming up in a couple of years that may also have new requirements. We had an unexpected $48,000 hit at the sewer plant when what's called the SCADA system, which is this electronic system that tells you everything that's going on in the plant and is accessible remotely, so the staff can make adjustments on the fly. That hasn't worked now for about a month, and it's a $50,000 bill to get that fixed. I think I've talked in the newsletter quite a bit about electric rates. I think Bandon may well be the only electric utility in the United States that has to get voter approval for electric rates. Costs are for transformers, switches, things like that are up 100% over the last year and a half. Lead times have gone from a couple of months to a year and a half. And the problem that's not immediately clear about the lead times is, what that means is instead of having one of them on the shelf and then you use it and you order another one, knowing it's gonna come in a month and a half, you better have more than one on the shelf. So those are expensive items. Now, the result will be, if we don't have enough, if a new project, a new economic development project, a new employer wants to come to Bandon, or something that we have breaks and we don't have it, the city's gonna be in a world of hurt. So we will have to go to the voters for an electric rate increase. It will, I don't even know how long it's been, well more than a decade, I think, since the rate increases happened, other than the one that arose from Bonneville's rate increase a few years ago, right? The charter says you can raise it to accommodate BPA rate increases, but not all of your other costs. PG&E, I think, just had a 17% rate increase approved by the Public Utility Commission, and Pacific Power, I think, was just under 10%. So anyway, that's just kind of a heads up that we're gonna have to go back out to keep these things, to have reliable water and reliable electric service. We'll talk about in a work session the timing of that, when we go out for what we would go to the voters for. So that's more than I thought I was going to be able to say
Oh, that was,
without notes.
Dan, can I ask you one question?
Yes.
Every time we have to go to the voters to get some kind of increase for our utilities, how much does that cost the city? How much does that cost the taxpayer?
5,000 to just under 20,000, depending on when you do it.
Depending on what election it is?
Right. So, right, if it's a general election, you're paying your proportionate share of, if you go out in November, if we gone out last November, we'd pay a 20th or whatever. When we went out in August, for systems development charges, the city bore the entire cost for that. I think it was over 6,000 or 7,000.
Thank you.
You bet.
okay. Okay, the next item on the agenda is something that I brought up, and it's called discussion of enforcement and compliance office options for abandoned and dangerous buildings. And we do have the ordinance here, the documentation. But I know that over the years, for example, I just happened to be looking through the Western World, and it says city to condemn 2 buildings. This happened to be in 1960, but this is the way we did it. The old hospital, which was down on the property behind Oloro, it took condemnation by the city to get that torn down. And we have a house here that's on the way to the hospital, which has been abandoned. The lady who lived there has inherited another house around the corner. And I know that Richard has spoken to her, and I do notice that the car was gone today. But it's not the car so much as it is the house. If you're on your way to the hospital and you slow down, and you will see that the junk is piled completely to the ceiling, completely through that house. And then there's a garage on one end of it, and there's a piece of plastic that's hanging over it, and it is also stuffed full of stuff. And something needs to be done. I know that the former city manager, who happens to live on that street, has complained over and over again, but nothing ever happens. And we're just wondering if it isn't time to proceed under a dangerous building ordinance or something like that to just get it torn down. I called Lanny, and he didn't even know about it. He said, I don't even know what building you're talking about, which I thought was interesting, because you can't hardly drive down to the hospital without noticing it. But so do you think we could proceed and look into it? It's probably the only one really in the town. We haven't had, I will say that over the years, back in the 60s, there were a lot of situations, but we don't have that many abandoned housing. It's such a premium here that people are buying junkers and turning them into really nice living places. So we don't have a lot of places like this, but we do have this one. And one of the neighbors called me a couple of days ago and said he would like to see, he's on June Avenue. This is on Indiana. He's on June. And he said, I really want to be able to sell my place this summer, but he said with that place and the place behind it, which I believe is her brother-in-law, it's just completely covered with old car parts and crab pots, and it's just a disaster. And so hopefully we could at least look into what we need to do, because whatever we're doing isn't working. She may have taken a few pieces out, but it's moved down to her June Avenue house, and which is going to be just like that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can talk a little bit about the process,
Okay.
the process and the standards. So the standard of the dangerous building code, is it manifestly unsafe for the purpose for which it's used? Well, it's storage. So no, if it was a residence, you could condemn it and say it's no longer suitable for residential occupancy, condemn it, and no one can live there. If it's likely to fail or collapse and thereby injure persons, I've looked at the building, I think that's a possibility.
Mhm.
Then there's sort of a catch-all that's inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, decay, damage, faulty construction, inadequate light, air, or sanitation, unsanitary, unfit for human habitation, or in such a condition that is likely to cause sickness or disease, or a fire hazard.
Oh, it's definitely,
Then we can issue a notice in order to repair or demolish. So I believe it's a period, you have to give them a period of no longer than 60 days. It's
Okay.
appealable. If at the end of the process, whether it's an appeal or not, if the work's not done, the city can demolish and then assess the costs against the owner and or lien the property.
lien the property, right? Okay.
So I know that in some other cities, they've talked to other organizations, or they've talked to the county or charitable organizations to work and see if there are other options to get those buildings back in line. With that particular one, I'm not sure that that's a possibility. It's hard to know. I mean, there's a basic structure. I want to be careful about the detail of the specific one, because there actually are a couple of others where there's some minor issues that may fall under the same code. The basic structure has a good metal roof, and then there's a front porch and a back porch that have had roof problems. Those front and back additions are not on a concrete foundation. The piers underneath are starting to rot out. So what I propose to do is to get a structural engineer here from Roseburg. I got a good referral from the city of Gold Beach, who actually I think had to demolish a building. Get them out here, get a report from them. So we've got an adequate factual basis
Sure.
to make a determination on this and a couple of other more minor, but still potentially dangerous situations in the city. And then we can come back to council and go from there in terms of whether the council still wants to do notice in order to repair or demolish.
Okay, sounds
So-
good.
Has Lanny been contacted to go inspect this house?
Well, I asked him if he knew about it, and he didn't seem to know what I was talking about, but I'm sure that he would. If Dan asks him to look at it,
Yeah.
he'll look at it.
Because if Lanny condemns it, if it's a fire hazard, then we probably wouldn't have to have the structural engineer come over.
I would like to have them come over anyway, because there's two other buildings I'd like them to look at,
Okay.
two other situations. And I think it would be good regardless of is it a fire hazard? Is it not? It's a house full of stuff.
Yeah,
If it catches fire, it's going to be a big fire. I don't know if that makes it specifically a fire hazard under the
Right.
actual language of our ordinance. But I'm fairly certain that a structural engineer will look at it and say, no, this thing's in danger of falling down. It's an attractive nuisance. A kid could crawl under it and it could drop on them.
Yeah, what I know, I did notice one thing. Well, the man pointed it out to me because he can see it from his house. The metal roof, pieces of the metal roof are continuing to blow off, and now there's pieces that are flapping in the wind, just ready. And like he said, if you've ever seen one of those go through the neighborhood at 60 miles an hour, it could be extremely dangerous.
Yeah, the metal roofing blew off the shed or the porch part that would be to the east.
Right.
That's all come off, but that whole portion of the structure looks like it's possibly ready to fall down.
yeah.
So, and obviously most of these many of these situations, there's a resources issue, right? The property owner may not have the resources or ability to do what they need to do.
Mhm.
So we're looking at potentially a significant taxpayer expense that might be recouped through a lien on the property if it sells. In that case, you might be doing the property owner a favor to actually clear the property.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure we will. Then she could sell vacant. lots.
Because for a long time, it was difficult because the woman lived there alone. She doesn't drive. And she lived in there and it looked just exactly like that when she lived in there, but it was like, oh dear, where will she go? You know, her parents, her father was a former police officer here and, you know, she grew up here and, but then when she inherited this house right around the corner from her and just closed up that place with all the junk and moved around to the corner to another place, it was no longer an issue of her being displaced, which was good.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for looking into that.
That-
One more thing, is
Yes.
is the awning at the Lloyd's building on the radar as well?
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
because I know you've been talking about
Yes.
that.
What was the
The
question?
Lloyd's building, the awning at
Yeah,
the Lloyd's
oh, yeah,
building.
Yeah.
yes.
I'm surprised that that hasn't fallen and
I'm surprised
impaled
it
someone.
hasn't- Yeah. I'm surprised it hasn't fallen on somebody's head.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is 5.3, resolution 23-01, revising the in lieu donation amount for tree removal in the city right away. Dan, or I guess Dana's not here.
I gave Dana the night off. A tree ordinance allows a property owner to request removal of a tree in the right of way and either replace the tree in another location nearby or pay a fee in lieu donation to have a tree planted elsewhere. This is part of our participation in the Tree City USA program, which requires us to maintain a certain number of trees per capita. I would note that we lost or will lose between 60 and 90 trees in City Park as a result of the recent windstorm. The Parks and Rec Commission reviewed the resolution that allows an individual to voluntarily donate funds for replacement. The fee was set in 2014 at $50. This resolution would raise that fee to $150 because that's about what it takes to put in a new tree that's between 1 and 4 feet, 1 and 4 feet tall. I would note this sometimes comes up after the fact. So if someone goes and just illegally cuts a tree in a right of way because they don't like it, it's just $50. So this resolution would raise that to $150. It's still voluntary. You can still replace the tree. But this changes the voluntary fee to $150.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 23-01, increasing the in lieu donation amount to $150 per tree for voluntary removal in the city's right of way.
A second,
It's been moved by Madeline, second by Josh to approve resolution 23-01. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, now we have the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda? And then anything, oh, I know something I want to talk about. What number?
And just make sure you give us
I have to find it. It has to do with changing the name.
oh, yeah.
This is the community.
The community, yeah.
Yeah.
Until we change it, I think it's still called, and throughout the minutes, it says Citizen Involvement Committee, which is what it is. And then there's it's something there that says if they want to change it to, oh, here it is. If they want to change it to community, then the council has to make the decision. So I just want things to still continue as Citizen Involvement Committee, if that's okay.
I think we should bring that.
Bring it and
Bring it to council. I think they've talked about community engagement as their sort of working title. Without getting, without wanting to be PC or woke about it.
yeah, because that's, I don't want to do that, okay?
But it is about engaging the entire community, whether they are citizens or folks living here on a green card, or whether they're permanent residents, or whether they are businesses.
Well,
So-
I just think of, I wasn't thinking of a citizen of any nation, as you're a citizen of the city. That's my take on it.
Well, that's what it's always been called, and I believe that's what other community calls it. Like, I just as soon change the planning commission to performance zoning committee too. But since that's not really what you call it, I don't know. It just seems like, I don't know why we want to change it.
I know.
It's been citizen, oh no, and it also appears that the people who are now talking about it, they did not realize that when we abandoned the committee itself, that we appointed the council to be the CCI. So there actually was, we were in conformance with the law but it never really addresses that. So if somebody needs to go back and look at the minutes, they'll see that we did have a CCI. But I personally don't want to change the name. I don't see any reason to, because the next year, somebody else will want to change the name again. And I don't see anything wrong with the word Citizen Involvement Committee personally, but that's just me. So, and I don't vote.
Message received.
Thank you. Anybody has anything else that they want to? Okay, which
I have
one?
a couple,
Oh.
on the write-offs, 6.4.2, yellow. Towards the end.
Okay.
We've got a couple of big ones this time, 1656 and 1696. Were those commercial accounts?
No, because the bottom ones are the commercial accounts, and I was wondering
Okay.
about those too,
Yeah.
who that is, what commercial account that is.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I don't know what
I
that,
don't know who he is. Oh, 1,600 or like 1650 and almost 1,700 in residential utilities that we now have in collection. I think though, to me, reading this report, it looks like someone forgot about these people, about collecting money.
I don't see how you could get a bill of $1,600 unless you were eating the whole neighborhood.
So this was,
Years they haven't paid. That's what
Yeah.
I'm wondering.
this was a bill that was due a year ago. No payment, shut off notice sent in February of 22. The meter was pulled late February of 2022. The monthly bills, this was apparently a property that had a very high monthly bill of $450 a month. I don't know why or how, but that's what the monthly bill was.
Okay,
It is the same thing with,
the other one.
let's see. Yes, I believe it's a very similar situation with the other one. The bill was due in August, shut off notice in September, made payment arrangements to pay $400 a month. I don't know at what point the payment, well, looks to me like they never followed through with the payment arrangement and the meter was pulled in October of 2021. So this means they'll be turned over to collection.
Oh, I'm sure. I just,
So
it
to me,
seems
just-
strange that we let it get it so out of hand. After, I mean, it didn't happen overnight. Obviously, this is an account that we should have been watching for 6-8 months at a time. And it just looks like we didn't. To me, anyway.
Yeah,
So what happens when the meter's pulled?
There's no more electricity to the building.
So
Yeah.
they're still living there? Obviously.
I suppose.
generally not. In most cases, the people move out or have moved out.
Yeah.
What they
Oh.
do is they'll run up a bill,
Yeah.
try to make payment arrangements and then move out.
Oh, all right.
Leave the city.
And sometimes I've known of cases where they come back, but they come back under a different name. They
Yeah.
come back under their spouse's name or their cousins or their cat or somebody else, so they run up this big bill and then they come back and start running up another big bill. So I'm hoping that we have a way of finding, yes.
Like other information, other identification, driver's license.
Paul, would you come up here and talk into the mic because I can't hear?
As part of a new utility service, we do collect other information such as driver's license and last four social
Okay,
sort of things. So we do have some other ways to identify
all right.
people. And some of these with payments or payment arrangements, we have found that we can right after have a better chance of collecting the money than sending it off to the write-off company
Yeah,
that's doing collections. So we do make a lot of efforts and they are looked at every month.
Oh, they are.
Yeah,
Okay.
we look at this every month and go through every account, so.
Oh, well, these people. are
All right.
growers.
So what you're saying, Paul, really is that as a practice, you probably collect more money by letting people go into this
Right.
payment arrangement situation, even if we get a couple that end up stiffing us.
Yes, that's,
Overall, you actually collect more money this way.
that's correct.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, isn't it usually when you send it into collection, if they get anything, they take out?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
better to work with them first and try to get some of them.
Yeah.
Just get it.
And we do have good results with our payment plans, but sometimes people string us along and
Yeah.
Well, three of
don't
these
get-
people have died, so that.
Well, not those people.
A little hard to keep up with your payment plan there, but I mean, like 3 out of 10 have died, so, okay.
On the commercial accounts, can we know the name of the business or not?
3 out of 8 have died.
I don't know the names of the businesses.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
On our report, can we have the name of the business? We have the name of the person that the utility is under, but it's a commercial account. So. Our reports. Hi, Paul.
Come on up, Paula.
We can add that a commercial account could also be a vacation rental or other, so it
Oh,
might
that's
not
right.
be.
I would like to know that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would definitely like to know if we've got any VRDs that aren't paying.
right.
So, oh, yeah, that excited me.
We'll add some information.
Okay,
Paula.
that's not my favorite thing. Okay. Anybody else have an item that they want
I
to?
just want to congratulate the police department, even in our really slow month of all the holiday and stuff, 29 speeding tickets. I really like the way they're doing that. That's all I have.
Okay, okay.
Does Jeff have anything?
So do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved by Brian, seconded by Josh, so we can, the consent agenda is approved. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we have, where's the rest of my agenda? Oh, here it is. Public comment, time for the public to talk for 3 minutes. Yes.
Hello. I presented to all of you on your thing already, a letter that was written to me from Judy Smilin. So for into the record, she did submit it for your consideration for comments.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to address the council? You don't want to address? Okay. Anybody? Wow, okay. Let's go
Nobody
on,
wants to talk to
let's
us.
go on to council mayor remarks. Shayla? Dan?
I have a few things.
Okay,
I have a piece of very good news. Moody's has bumped our bond rating back
oh,
up.
good.
And we've gone from Baa1 to A3.
That's good. That's much better.
So it's a step, but it's a big step. From any B to an A is a big step. Mostly, I think the increase is because of our reserves and reserve policy. We've been setting money aside. They like that. TOT is increasing. They are impressed by the voter support of our last 4 ballot measures.
Good.
The negative factors are the charter. Again, because that always places a cloud on the city's ability to repay things if things go sideways. But all in all, very, very good news. Another piece of news, we've got the firm that installed our tsunami warning sirens. They're coming out tomorrow to do some maintenance, repair. It's been quite a while. So a lot of maintenance probably needs to be, they won't be sounding them,
Good.
Goodness.
but they will, no, we don't want to hear that, but they will be testing them, maintaining them. We've got issues, I think, with a couple of the sirens or speakers right now. But it's been a long time since well before I got here that's been done. We plan to fund that out of rescue plan money. It's not too expensive. I did note earlier, we are having to update, almost completely replace the supervisory control and data acquisition system. The SCADA system at the water plant needs to be updated. When we tested the generator worked great. But all the other old electronics, and if you've been to the sewer plant, the electronics there look like a movie from the 60s of NASA with big dials and things like this. So that'll all be updated. We're also now able to go ahead with the next steps of the groundwater study as well. On the housing front, we have a request for qualifications going out for possible developers on the what we're calling the central site. This is the joint city school district property over there by the ball fields. And then the planning commission will be hearing the zone change from public facilities to R1, I think next month. That'll probably come to council in March. We're going to go ahead with the request for qualifications. And a request for qualifications is simply reaching out to the private sector and the sort of nonprofit sector and saying, what do you got? What are your great ideas for this property? Here's what we're looking for. Give us your ideas. It's a pretty flexible process, intended to invite creativity from the government sector. That's path one. Path two is going to be to go ahead and do a sort of plan development layout for the project and see what that would look like as well in terms of having single units, modular homes, things like that. But I think that's progressing quite well.
So now phase 1 and 2 don't have any water problems over on the school property, right? Because I noticed that when we got the map last month or the month before, we had a phase 1 and a phase 2. And so there's not going to be any water issues as far as mitigation issues or anything like that? Okay, good. That's good to know. Thank you.
That's all I have.
All right, Brian.
Kudos to our public works and hydro crew for being out and working in this dangerous weather. I know a lot of friends in other cities have had a terrible time with their electricity and everything, and we fared fairly well. Also, I want to welcome Joshua to the team. We're looking forward to working with you. That's all for me.
None for me.
Welcome, Josh.
Thank you.
Looking forward to working with you. And our electrical crew is just absolutely amazing. I was only out of power for like 2 hours. I know other people were out more, but the amount of damage in this town after that storm, when I drove around, our crews did incredible work, including Public Works, getting the stuff cut down. And then our electrical department getting everything up and running. So does anybody know the longest anybody was out on our power grid?
I don't know. I know the crews worked 26 hours
Oh,
straight.
I know they did.
Jim gave because I needed something for my column, and I think Jim told Denise that he didn't think anybody was out longer than 12 hours on our service.
Okay.
So that's pretty remarkable.
Yes, it was. It was.
Considering what happened in I think Coos Curry Electric had some long outages, and of course, they've got a lot more trees than we do. We're lucky that most of ours is residential and you don't have a lot of trees, so. Okay.
That's it.
All right, I have several things. In the planning report says we approved a new grocery store. We know what that is. The Bandon Beach Hotel zoning compliance, 3 multifamily projects. Do you know what those are? Does that mean multifamily housing projects?
Yes.
3 of them have been approved? Because the community needs to have some hope. And really, seriously, to try to rent a place here and it's grim.
The 48 unit project on the old Violent site is proceeding. It's been approved. They've got to do their final design work, but there was a little change in the ownership structure there. We reached out to them, told them what they needed to do to prevent their approvals from expiring. They're on track. There is a 5-unit townhome project that's been approved. It's going to be kind of a dual master suite kind of units. I think the thought would be that would be a great thing for caddies who are essentially living independently but need to share costs. And then there is another project that would be 10 units of affordable housing that we're still working towards the approval process on, but the applicant finally got a new designer on board, so we're working with actual scaled drawings instead of kind of back of the napkin stuff. It's very well intentioned and probably a good product, but we need to have something that when we approve it, everyone knows what we approved. So.
Okay, but by affordable, you don't mean workforce then, you mean subsidized housing? To
No.
me, subsidized housing is affordable.
None of those are subsidized.
Good, thank you.
That's good.
It's great.
Although I will say that for Bandon's workforce, a subsidized housing project has to be part of the mix.
Yeah.
Because at
Minimum wage, you can
Yeah.
qualify. A lot of people
at
can.
$15 an hour, you're talking $800 a month is affordable on 115. And if you look at the little exercise with a group I'm working with on housing, where we just went through the coffee break and said, what are people looking for? It's $15, $16 an hour. If you run those numbers out, you're talking $800 a month. which you can't touch in Bandon or really anywhere else without some kind of subsidy.
No,
The big issue with subsidized housing for Bandon is going to be our ability to control who
exactly. That is
occupies
exactly
it.
the problem.
But
They come
We-
from all over the county. As soon as you build subsidized housing, I know several people who came from Powers, they, because they have a Section 8 and they can go wherever they want to.
Right.
I want to try to build housing for people who work here. I really, really do. But you can wish whatever you want to wish, but it's not going to happen. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but. And I also noticed that she said there's 7 accessory dwelling unit applications. So that means that that's what we've got to do. We've got to get to the point where we don't have so many restrictions that people can't afford to build lower cost housing here. It's just the need is so great. We know that the $1 million homes are being built and they're coming from out of town and they have a lot of money, and restrictions, rules and regulations don't really impact them that much. But the average guy that wants to build a market rate home, I mean, it's tough. And
I think I'd mentioned before that, it's not just the city or the county even, that has these crazy regulations, because my neighbor wanted to do an accessory dwelling for his mother-in-law. And the fire marshal told him he had to sprinkle the darn thing, which would have cost a small fortune, and in fact, there's a fire hydrant right in front of the house, just about. So it's a combination of all kinds of.
it is, and it's the poor citizen is the one that gets,
I had to sprinkle my house.
You did.
Yeah,
Oh,
15,000.
I think what's happening, just if I interject, that people are starting to learn about it.
Mhm.
I don't think folks have really been aware of the opportunity, because really the rules are very, very, as a matter of state law now, the rules are
Exactly.
very easy.
The state says you don't put stumbling blocks in their way,
Right.
which is one of the few things that I've agreed with lately, came out of the state. I also am concerned, well, not concerned, but I would like better reporting for the Sprague
Yeah.
and there isn't even any way to delineate between whether this is in Sprague Theater or whether it's at the barn. It used to be.
They don't even have.
I know, and they don't even have her mom's celebration of life on there, and I know it's been weeks. So there needs to be a better job here, and I'd also like to know, how much people are paying. We know these things are loss leaders, but it would be interesting to know just how much people are paying to rent these spaces.
I'll tell you. I only rented 2 rooms at the barn. And 10 tables. No, 12 tables, 2 rooms. And $700. And what they do.
Yes, yes.
Well, what they do is that $700 is a deposit. And then when you're done, if you use extra when you're there or you don't, you can actually get a refund from that 700, depending on how much you use once you're there, because everybody changes their mind when you set up a room. We all know that. So that's how they do it. And I did not get an employee discount because I'm not an employee of the city.
Okay. I know that I found a booklet about the Sprague Theater, which is in my history stuff, and it was when it first opened, and it said things like the Sprague Theater is being used almost every other day. Well, of course.
What year was that?
Yeah, what year was that? It was a long time ago, because it needs to be used more. We need to get the schools involved. The school shouldn't have to use the old gymnasium stage. We need to, we really need to work at, I don't know, it's a long story, so I won't go into it, but that's really all I have to say. Next.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who put me in this seat. I look forward to working with each and every one of you guys and working with the town. I don't really have much else to say beyond that. I want to thank people that showed up to watch me. And then I'll pass it to Chris
They're a good group.
or to Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff, do you have anything to say?
Other than just welcome, look forward to working with you. Wish I could be there tonight, and I'm also 100% on board. Look forward to hearing about more about this workforce housing and housing for locals and stuff in our community. That's a huge issue that I would love to see rolling. Again, it's just a matter of if, when, and how, but we're all enthusiastic about it.
Thanks, Jeff.
Welcome aboard, and yeah, my kudos to the electric department. That was an interesting storm. And I'm looking the wrong way here, but anyways, they did a great job. That's all I got.
I guess we don't have anything
We don't have
else.
an executive session tonight.
No executive session. All right, the meeting's adjourned.
It was supposed
And it doesn't look like it's storming as hard as it was a little while ago.
Yeah. Came and went home.
I was here, our watchdog, the Rod. I know, why was he?
Turn your.
When the test, you can stick to the flag.
No, I noticed.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's an asshole.
Well, and you don't undo that overnight. You were gonna do that overnight if you got $1 million. But build a bunch of workforce housing in it. Nope.
Nazis have